From our studios at the corner of 8th and Walton in Bentonville, Arkansas, welcome to Saturday Morning Meeting, brought to you in part by Dun & Bradstreet Credibility Corporation, the leading provider of credit and credibility solutions for businesses. Saturday Morning Meeting covers Walmart, Sam's Club, and the consumer product companies that are represented on the racks and shelves throughout the country and around the world. I'm Derek Ridenoure, and our focus is on the insights, trends, and best practices to help you as a supplier grow your business with the world's largest retailer. Thank you for joining us. And coming up today, I'll be talking with Scott Morris at Freshpet, and reviewing this week's top news stories with me are Didi Frazier of L'Oreal and Stan Zylowski of Movista. But first, the headlines. Mercury News reports that Walmart's global e-commerce division is planning a Silicon Valley hiring spree. The company's Sunnyvale office currently houses a staff of 550, but Walmart expects to hire as many as 1,000 new associates as part of its tech and e-commerce push. The shakeup at Target continues with this week's announcements that Tony Fisher, president of his Canada division, has been fired. StarTribune.com reports that the firing follows a disappointing year for the Target's Canadian operations, in which the company lost almost $1 billion. Fisher's departure follows the departures of Target CEO and CIO after last year's major data breach. Portland, Oregon is divesting from Walmart. The Portland Business Journal reports that the city has no further plans to purchase holdings in Walmart, citing the city's commitment to socially responsible investing. Retailing Today reports that Sam's Club continues to struggle with slow sales and declining profits. Sam's CEO Rosalind Brewer notes that bad weather and a reduction in public assistance benefits contributed to the warehouse club's disappointing numbers. The article also noted that the rival club Costco experienced a sales increase during the same time period and the same weather patterns. TwinCities.com reported on an interesting phenomenon this week, the demise of small businesses in the wake of a big box store closure. While Walmart is often blamed for forcing mom and pops out of business when it serves as an anchor in a mall or shopping center, it actually serves to drive traffic to smaller specialty shops. Unfortunately, more communities are learning the hard way why their retail economy may rely heavily on the presence of larger stores. Boston Business Journal reports that Walmart's Made in the USA initiative has been a boon to one New England supplier. Walmart recently asked a local plastics manufacturer to begin manufacturing the Wonder Loom, a plastic loom that children can use to create bracelets. Factory owner Steve Graham reports that he's hired 20 new factory workers to work on the looms. Graham also notes that the contract has created about 100 jobs overall, including temporary workers. Check out Walmart and supplier news as is reported on walmartnewsnow.com. And we're joined now by our panel, Didi Frazier from L'Oreal and Stan Zylowski from Movista. Welcome, guys. So in the news today, we were talking about Sam's Club is down, but Costco is up. Stan, are you surprised?
I'm not particularly surprised. You've got one retailer that's based mainly in the east and southeast, another one that's based in the west primarily, and you've got a completely different demographic right there. So clearly the upper crust of the economy is improving at a greater rate than the middle and lower portions. Hopefully we'll see that reverse, but it's churned up in the numbers.
We bring up a good point because geographically they're kind of opposite. Southeast obviously got hit with some bad weather, which is what Sam's is saying. That's why their sales are down. I think there's more there too than just the fact you have different geographics. Sam's focuses primarily on business customers. Costco just the opposite. They're kind of the treasure hunt, and it's exciting and fun. Didi?
I think you could, yes, I agree with you. I think that's a very valid point. And I think there is a demographic shift that you could also compare to with Walmart as well as other mass retailers as a tie-in. So when you start looking at who's shopping in those outlets in mass, they are definitely a different consumer, and there's different ways to approach that consumer.
So Walmart was basically flat this year, or what they reported for first quarter. Kind of goes hand in hand with what we saw with Sam's. Costco's up. Target has somewhat struggled ahead of data breach, but Target's actually not doing as bad as what Walmart is. And you're seeing that in your own business, right?
Correct. So in HBA and consumables, we are seeing some positive increases from Target, not as strong at Walmart necessarily.
Why do you think that is?
I think in our categories, there's been a lot of renovation, and we're targeting, they're targeting more of like the millennial consumer, whereas Walmart is over-indexing in our categories with the boomer consumer.
Which is not anything that's really new. We've talked about that on the show before, that Walmart has had somewhat of a marketing problem when it comes to the millennials and the younger generation, because it's almost like their parents shop there. I don't want to shop there. I want to try something new and try something different. Target has been trendy, and you're continuing to see that with what you're saying.
Correct. And we do at Walmart, they are getting better with their marketing initiatives. There are some back half launches and some educational pieces. Latin Grammys, they're partnering with that to try to get in that Hispanic consumer along with the millennials. So trying to drive some more excitement within that category is key for Walmart right now to grab that consumer.
It's not lost on Walmart, clearly, right? I mean, you look at electronics with Project Reboot, and it's interesting you use education, customer education in this, because if you walk Store 100 right now and you take a look around, you see a whole bunch of...
Which, by the way, Store 100 is the store in Bentonville.
The store across the street from the home office, right. In Bentonville, you'll see there's a singular mod you won't find anywhere else, but it's the new fixturing that's going to roll out in the tablet set. Great, phenomenal job, really, a huge upgrade. And so clearly Walmart is saying electronics is a part of the store where we're going to win over the millennials, and we're going to keep them here, right, win their hearts and get their minds later, and they're investing in that. So hopefully that'll roll over too to HBA, and I think it's going to roll throughout the store.
Well, and Target's continuing to see problems with their data breach, as we've talked about. Do you think that scares millennials, or do you think that they're not really, they don't really care at this point?
I think it's interesting. Certainly, the risk threshold is probably lower for millennials than it is for the boomer consumer, which I think you should patent.
Yeah.
But you're not as worried about your credit when you're 23, 25 years old as you are.
You're somewhat invincible.
Well, yeah, of course you're invincible. They're going to live forever.
Right.
Wish I was.
Yeah. Well, I think also you have to look at it. The boomer consumer, the credit cards and all of your store rebate type things were not readily available when they were growing up. The millennial is more accustomed to that type of program. So I think they are less fearful of the data breach and what goes on with it, because I think they're just more accustomed to everything's online, everything's done through credit, everything.
When you live your life on Facebook and social media,
yes,
you really don't have a lot to hide.
Yeah, what did you steal from me? Not a whole lot, right? Certainly not part of my soul. But the larger interesting point here is that what you see is that retailers who are focusing on a certain strata of the economy are continuing to be sluggish. And the others that we're talking about, whether you're talking about Costco or Target or some others that you were speaking of that are servicing a different strata, a higher strata in the economy, are recovering faster. It'll be interesting to see over the next 6-12 months if we see that start to balance out a little bit. And certainly,
and Costco's member typically is in the $100,000+ a year household income. Sam's Club typically is between 60 and up. That's where they start. Target is around the 60. Walmart's a little bit lower. They're certainly going for the 20,000+ consumers. So, if you're a supplier to Sam's, like many of us are, what's your strategy? How do you help them grow their basket? How do you help them grow their sales? Or do you have any? Is there something that they can do?
I think it goes back to the excitement and the availability, like the options within the club, trying to do more like the retailtainment or creating that atmosphere like Costco does. It is exciting. It is fun to shop. So getting that back into the Sam's Club, I think, would be key to drive that consumer there.
The road shows?
Yes.
Which are there for a couple of weeks and they're gone, but a lot of excitement.
Well, I mean, we're sort of going to say the same thing, but anytime you have a high involvement purchase, right? So if you're going to Costco, be interesting, do you know what the average ring is, the difference between a Costco ring and a Sam's ring? I don't either, but I would say that for an average consumer, you're going to see a higher ring inside of a Costco, and the more high involvement the purchase is, the more it's going to help you to have people there who are educating the customer, upselling the customer, right? When you buy the computer, don't just get the computer, get the router, that sort of thing. And when at those price points and those high involvement categories, you can afford to do that, and there are a lot of people who are doing that. It will be also, I know that there are some initiatives inside of Walmart to do the same thing on a test basis around back to college and see how that flows out. How impactful would it be to have a specialist on hand in a high involvement category to really help out what is otherwise pretty unspecialized sales staff?
But is there a need for that when you have smartphone applications and online reviews that I can go and read? Do I spend the labor, if I'm Walmart, do I spend the labor to put somebody in the store to answer those questions.
Boomer consumer is less likely to have that technology in their hand or to be utilizing it at the point of sale. So, I mean, that's the challenge, right? The challenge is how much do we rely on someone, assuming they have a smart device, assuming they're going to do their own research, and how much do we have to sort of put it out there and spell it out to them? And that's the balance that everyone is seeking. But based on what you're saying, at least within HBA, right? If we believe the data,
health and beauty aids,
health and beauty aids, education is making a difference, and I think we'll be interested to see how it plays out in Walmart on their high involvement categories.
All right, Didi, give you the last word.
I think it'll be exciting to see, to tag on, is how it performs in the last, next 6 to 8 months with Walmart. We have a lot of programs going around the educational and really driving to Hispanic and millennials. So I'm interested to see how it'll do.
Okay, best of luck. We'll see what happens, guys. Thank you very much. Stick around, because when we come back, we're going to talk with Scott Morris. He's the co-founder of Fresh Pet. We're going to talk innovation in pets as Saturday morning meeting continues.
Every day, shoppers are bombarded with traditional brand messages outside the store in hopes that these marketing dollars will drive in-store sales. Closure Media drives retail sales by connecting brands with 95 million Walmart shoppers per year while they are in the store. Through innovative programs at Walmart's photo and money centers, Closure Media converts Walmart shoppers to purchasers of your brand. With reported redemption rates up to 7 times the national FSI average, Closure Media drives sales. For more info, visit us at closuremedia.com.
Discover our revolutionary lotion-infused body wash, New Dial Vitamin Boost. And wrap your skin in nourishing softness. For healthy, soft skin, people will notice. Dial. Healthier skin, healthier you.
8th and Walton, the premier destination for Walmart supplier education. When and where you want to learn. Current, accurate, relevant, taught by suppliers, for suppliers. 8th and Walton.
K-Stack, the leader in collaborative retail consolidation programs. We offer the supply chain expertise needed to navigate the challenges of selling products with the world's largest retailers. And we provide customers with a customizable, scalable, environmentally sustainable supply chain with the same advanced technology typically used by larger rivals. By leveling the playing field, K-Stack lowers distribution costs and increases overall margins. K-Stack, retail logistics is what we do.
Are you a single parent struggling to meet your family's needs? Single Parent Scholarship Fund is here to help. Single Parent Scholarship Fund of Northwest Arkansas helps hundreds of single parents get an education. By providing scholarships and support, a brighter future is right around the corner for you and your family.
We should know, in 2007, I graduated with my bachelor's degree in organizational management. Single Parent Scholarship Fund helped make my dream a reality. My kids are so proud of me, and now they declare themselves as college-bound.
And welcome back to Saturday Morning Meeting. We're joined now by Scott Morris. He is the co-founder of Fresh Pet. Scott, thanks for coming in.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Now, you guys are doing a great business at Walmart. In fact, I got a call from Tim Dodge, your buyer, who really suggested that we have a chance to sit down and talk. But let's talk about what Fresh Pet is, and to those people who may not have ever seen Fresh Pet or know about it, because it's a little different than normal dog food.
Well, it's actually a line of fresh refrigerated dog food that we brought to market in 2007. And it was really just an idea where we knew we were eating fresher, healthier, and less processed foods. And we thought there was an opportunity to bring that to the pet market.
And I know you guys have teamed up very well with Walmart. Again, that's why, and I've known Tim for a long time, which is so important that you guys have a great relationship with the buyer and you're bringing that innovation. Let's talk about how that got started. How did the innovation, obviously you want to eat, the pets eat better, but how did that come to be at Walmart?
Well, it's interesting. We had kind of a long-standing relationship with some of the people at Walmart, and we were in pet food for many years. And when we came up with the idea of Fresh Pet, we didn't know if it was right for Walmart up front, but we came into Walmart early and mentioned that we were doing something like this. And the category, the buyers had really the vision to kind of take a look at it and say this is something they wanted to participate in. And for a long time, we just tested in a very small number of stores. And then over time, we kind of learned what made sense and what was right for the business and how it could be developed. And now we're in about 1,400 Walmarts today.
And you have a unique challenge with Fresh Pet that many pet food suppliers don't have to contend with, and that is the fact that you are refrigerated, which is kind of odd when you look down the dog food aisle, a lot of dry dog food, a lot of canned dog food. So let's talk about some of the challenges that you've had in getting that cooler into the stores as well as your product.
Yeah, when we first show up and we say, hey, we want to, there's a whole trend in the humanization of pet food and feeding pets more and more like they're really part of the family. And when we talk about that, everyone shakes their head and they know about the humanization trend, but when we said we really wanted to bring fresh refrigerated food, which makes sense, everyone agrees with that. And then when you start explaining that we need to put electricity in the middle of an aisle, we need to put that refrigerator in, and then we need to ship it into whether it's a dairy back room or a meat back room, it becomes much more challenging from a logistical standpoint to get that through the supply chain into the store and then get it stocked into the pet section.
Well, there's got to be a stigmatism too of putting this in the meat department, and I know it's not going in the meat department, but just you're putting dog food with the perishable stuff that consumers are buying and eating.
There is that up front, but what we've been able to do, and the way we operate is we operate just like we're a human food manufacturer. Our plant is that way. We make all of our own food. Everything, the way our safety and our quality standards, everything that we do is exactly the way you do it if it was a human food product. So there is a little bit of that like hesitancy up front, but once people recognize it and once we've gotten larger and larger, people become more comfortable with it. And it hasn't become an issue. And then what starts to happen over time is that once retailers have put it in, and Walmart's seen it where they've been able to put it in and they see the growth of the product and they see the contribution it makes to the category, then everyone becomes more relaxed and comfortable with the whole overall proposition.
And that's one of the key things too, because as you talk to any buyer, and anybody who sells to Walmart in particular, they know it's not just about can I increase my sales year over year, but stepping back, it's how do you grow the entire category,
Right.
which is for some suppliers somewhat odd because you're asking me to grow my competitors
Right.
Within the category. So what are some things that you guys have done to really blow that category out?
Well, this is an interesting proposition for us. And again, most of us have been in pet food for many, many years. So we're in a unique situation where we've been able to develop a product that's great for pets, pet parents and pet consumers love it, but also it's been so accretive to the category where it's helped the category grow, it's on a margin standpoint, it's on the higher end from a margin standpoint. And then once it's in, what happens is it becomes a little bit of the milk and eggs of the pet aisle, meaning that people come in more and more often because you can only get so much fresh refrigerated food in your refrigerator versus buying a really large bag. So their purchase frequency decreases, they come into the store more often, and then they are picking up other items when they're coming into the store. So it really helps the overall category growth from a frequency and by adding new consumers into the category.
Because your turns have got to be really good, because if I buy a 50-pound or 46-pound bag of dog food, that may last me 3 weeks to a month depending on how often I feed my dogs. This probably going to last me a week.
Right. Well, it depends on the size of the dog and the size that you're buying. But we find our purchase cycle on fresh pet products is typically half of what average brands are. So instead of it being 25 to 30 days for many brands, you're dealing with like 12, 17 days for most of the fresh pet
Which
items.
anyone in category management or buying, certainly suppliers, that's what's going to drive the business, those repeat purchases. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. We're talking with Scott Morris. He's the co-founder of Fresh Pet. More when we come back on Saturday Morning Meeting.
Our pets are part of the family. So as we eat fresher, less processed foods, it makes sense that our pets should too. That's why we made Fresh Pet. Meats and veggies so fresh, the only preservative we use is the fridge. We're proud that our food is different. We're even prouder of the healthier coats, clearer eyes, and increased energy of the thousands of dogs and cats who've helped make Fresh Pet the fastest growing pet food in America. Fresh Pet, fresh food for Fido.
Imagine what it would be like if you knew the weather up to a year in advance. What would you do differently for your business or your life? At Weather Trends, we don't imagine it, we do it. We're a team of meteorologists, mathematicians, and business weather advisors, and we've spent the last 20 years developing a new way to forecast months in advance. We've been studying weather's effect on product sales based on every 1 degree change in temperature. We can now take your sales data and show you exactly how the weather impacts your business down to a single degree. We're leading the way into a new era in forecasting and a new power in business decisions, and we invite you to join us. Welcome to Weather Trends.
You know, the biggest challenge of working with Walmart is they really expect everyone on the team to know their language, know their terminology, and know exactly how they do business. So that's where 8th and Walton really comes into play. You know, it's the fastest way to get my team members up to speed.
Their business model is suppliers teaching suppliers. So when you come to 8th and Walton, you can count on having very experienced trainers who understand how suppliers work within Walmart, and they take advantage of that and incorporate that into their curriculum.
It's fun to feed the waterfowl on Beaver Lake, right? Wrong. Feeding wild ducks and geese can disrupt their natural foraging instincts, and people food can lead to overpopulation, malnutrition, and more animal waste in our drinking water source. So admire the waterfowl, but please don't feed them. Let's all do our part to give Beaver Lake a break.
And welcome back to Saturday Morning Meeting. We're talking with Scott Morris. He's the co-founder of Freshpet. Now, I wanted to get into the innovative side of this, because it's not just innovation in terms of the pet food category, but you've had a chance to work with a couple buyers for a while. Your buyer today very much on board with this.
Yes, very, very much. And I think one of the reasons that he is so in tune to this product is I think he's a pet owner himself. He's also very, very aware of the trends that are going on in the market, and it's interesting. You know, the market has progressed tremendously over 5, 10, 15 years. It's really, really changed, and I think it was kind of the right time for a product like this. There has been changes. 20 years ago, I don't think this would have worked, and I think because he is a pet owner and is in tune with what's going on in many of these pet specialty type stores. He was willing to kind of have the vision and really, take the risk on it, and I think it's paid dividends for both us and the Walmart team.
You guys are innovative in a couple different ways, because you can't do the priority distribution like most of the dog food. Stores get a dog food truck. It's nothing but the dry dog food and canned dog food. You can't do that because those are dry trucks, no refrigeration. So you've had to add another layer in there with McLean's.
Right, right.
Has that impacted, or has that helped your sales, or has it kind of limited you?
Well, I think there's definitely some challenges. I mean, they're a great partner too, but it adds another person in the partnership. It's not as direct a one-on-one partnership. So we were able to kind of solve some initial problems and challenges we had with distribution by going through McLean, and they've been a great partner and been willing to work with us really well. And I know that Tim enjoys working with them too. Right. But it makes it a little bit more complex, obviously.
And I bring all of that up to say that this isn't something you just walked into Walmart and said, hey, here's a great product you need to get on your shelves. Okay, let's get you set up in the distribution center and go with it. This was a very, very much a process to get it to flow through there, and really partnering with the buyer and the innovation that has brought that in.
Right, and the thing I would say is, we had an idea, but we're really founded in kind of doing a lot of kind of consumer work and identifying consumer opportunities. So when we have brought things into Walmart, and even when we have our meetings, we'll bring things in that are 12 and 18 months out and talk about them as ideas, and really kind of get collaboration on them, on where can we go, how might this work if we did develop a product something like this. And we had some conversations very recently like that. And I think what it does is it helps us understand kind of where the buyer is thinking the category is developing and going over time, and helps us to refine the products to make sure it's a good fit for both of us.
Well, the joint business planning is something that we've talked about a couple times here, but it's so important that suppliers understand that. It sounds like you guys obviously do, where you're sitting down with the buyer, planning not just next month or planning to that next line review, but as much as 2 years out.
Yeah, way out. And we actually don't even think about it as products. We actually thinking about it as technologies. And what I mean by that is we're thinking of different ways we can bring products to market. So it isn't like it's a new flavor. We're thinking about things that are new forms. And when we're looking at the pet food category, we're looking at any way we can possibly innovate anything in pet food to make it kind of more progressive and really kind of get on trend with what consumers are looking for.
So who's your target audience for this?
You know, it's interesting. Anyone who has kind of a deep, involved relationship with their pet is really within our target. And you know, some people will make a decision to buy more expensive products for their kids for one reason or another, mostly for nutrition. It's the same situation with their pets. If they think about their pets as part of the family or their children many times, then this is a product that will appeal to them. And if they have a close relationship, then Fresh Pet and what we're bringing, which is a fresh, refrigerated, natural, meat-based product, is something that really can appeal to those consumers. And typically, once they try it, we would get very, very high repeat rates.
So millennials, a big one, because here's what I hear a lot in the market. If you can catch the millennials as they're getting out of college and they're establishing their own household, you pretty much will hopefully lock them in and keep them for a while. Goal there?
We actually have two different groups that tend to be the core consumers for us. One of them is a group where it's almost empty nesters. So when kids start to be in high school, they're kind of living in the same house with you, and then pet becomes even more an integral part of the family there for the parents. And then the other one is kind of the younger people that do have a little bit of extra disposable income, that are younger, that are more in tune to nutrition, but pre-kids. So it's kind of like when almost empty nesters and also pre-kids. And those are the two groups that tend to use our products and that we're also targeting.
Now I also want to touch, because we got about 30 seconds left here, you also have cat food.
Yes, yes we do.
Let's talk about the cat food, because I know it doesn't do nearly as well as the dog food.
Right. It's interesting. It was one of the secondary things that we launched in the market. We came with dog food first. That was one of the things. And then secondarily, we're merchandised in the dog food section almost always. So we don't quite have the opportunity and exposure to be in front of the cat consumers. So there's definitely some opportunity, for us over time to develop our cat food business for sure.
But cats can't eat this.
They could. It's not complete in balance for cats.
Okay. Scott, thanks for coming in. We've been talking with Scott Morris. He's the co-founder of Fresh Pet. We will be right back with more on Saturday Morning Meeting.
GigWalk is an on-demand mobile workforce that can collect data and do work at retail. Businesses use GigWalk for retail audits, merchandising, and much more. With 350,000 smartphone-enabled workers available on demand, you get unprecedented speed and coverage across the US, Canada, and the UK. And all work is reviewed for quality and accuracy. Visit gigwalk.com to learn more.
Experience the unique cooling sensation of frozen yogurt. New Dial Frozen Yogurt Body Wash. Wrap your skin in cooling moisture. For skin so refreshingly soft, people will notice. Dial. Healthier skin, healthier you.
8th and Walton, the premier destination for Walmart supplier education. When and where you want to learn. Current, accurate, relevant, taught by suppliers, for suppliers. 8th and Walton.
Beaver Lake serves as the drinking water source for 1 in 7 Arkansans. Did you know that your actions can impact the quality of water in Beaver Lake? The Beaver Watershed Alliance is working to proactively protect, enhance, and sustain the water quality of Beaver Lake. With the help of partners, volunteers, and people like you, the Alliance is making a difference in Northwest Arkansas. Please learn more about your role in preserving the water quality of the Beaver Watershed and about how you can get actively involved. Visit beaverwatershedalliance.org. Beaver Watershed, our environment, our health, our home.
Are you a single parent struggling to meet your family's needs? Single Parent Scholarship Fund is here to help. Single Parent Scholarship Fund of Northwest Arkansas helps hundreds of single parents get an education. By providing scholarships and support, a brighter future is right around the corner for you and your family.
We should know, in 2007, I graduated with my bachelor's degree in organizational management. Single Parent Scholarship Fund helped make my dream a reality. My kids are so proud of me, and now they declare themselves as college-bound.
I would recommend 8th and Walton to other suppliers because from my experience talking to other suppliers, they were even learning new ideas or just new and better business practices.
Most people have little time for training, and so 8th and Walton is a perfect opportunity to send your new employees to understand the retailing system. And again, because trainers were suppliers, they know the how and the why, so they become very valuable very quickly.
Our thanks to Scott Morris of Freshpet and today's panelists as well. As always, we appreciate you taking the time to join us. If you have questions or comments, we'd love to hear from you. And be sure to join us next week as we are joined by Ross Culley and Jeff Clapper to give the first look at the 2014 vendor survey conducted by 8th and Walton and the Harvest Group. And if you're a supplier, you won't want to miss these results with responses from over 300 suppliers from around the world. I'm Derek Ridenoure, and from all of us at Saturday Morning Meeting, thanks for watching, and please join us next Saturday.